All right, welcome to the third part. And in this last part, what we're going to do is in the lower right corner of this Pin2 file, we're going to learn how to create a dimension style called plus minus and one called tolerance. Now, I want to show you the finished outcome of that first. And to see that, this requires you to download and print out the booklet that's part of the coursework in Lesson 8. And you can see this on page 1. What we have is the start of the plus minus style. Now I'm going to scroll down and you're going to see the finished outcome right here. This is what we're striving to create right here. So we dimension as normal. And then we have the AutoCAD automatically add the plus and the minus numbers aside from it. Okay, so that's going to be the first one. The second one is our dimensions are going to come out in limits. And limits shows you the span of the tolerance. Now, tolerancing is strictly a mechanical engineering skill that those of you in the mechanical major are going to have to learn sooner or later. But what it basically does is it gives you a variation of your desired dimension. And there's a number of ways to do that, but the two most common, there's actually three very common ones. One being the plus minus, the other being limits, and then there's a third one with three letters, G, D, and T. The G is geometric, D dimension, T tolerance. Very common in Europe, also common in the States. And it's more complex to learn, but it is very precise, and it is a nice way of applying dimensions. I'm going to be posting a PowerPoint presentation, and I highly recommend that you look through that PowerPoint because it'll show you certainly the basics and an overview of the GDT method of dimension. All right, with that said, make sure that you have this booklet, and it's basically a step-by-step. That's the good news. And you could, at any future time in AutoCAD, follow this. But what I ask is that you don't jump ahead. Just follow along with me, because if you jump ahead, you're typing in a value because it says to, and you don't even know why. So there's no intelligence behind your action. All right, so I want you to be understanding what we're doing. All right, with that said, so in this drawing, what we're going to do is go to our dimension style manager. Remember, you could either get to that through this annotation and the style manager here, or we could get to it from the annotate where we were earlier and this little arrow here. So either way, open that up. Now, in this course file, I did not intend on there actually being a style there, and this isn't the worst thing, because what if you have a style you don't want, dimension style? Right? So how do we get rid of it? Well, select on the DOLTM, right-click on it, and select delete. And so you're sure you want to? Yes. All right, so easy as that to delete an existing style. There's one caveat to that. You cannot have anything in the drawing in that style. It won't let you delete it if your stuff already exists, which is a good thing. And it can't be the current style. All right, with that said, we're going to create a new style, and what I want is for you to follow along with me. All right, so step 1, you pick new, and new style, we're going to call it that TOLTM, and then select continue. Okay. In the booklet, it says set current, and I'm going to back out of here just to explain that. That's kind of a safety feature where when you say new, before you pick new, you want to make sure what style is current. And I'm glad I'm backing off on this because I wasn't paying attention to that. And ANSI is current. I don't want that to be the current style. I didn't create that. I don't know what else is in there that may harm the cause here. I want to reset standard to be the current. And it uses that as a template to build the new one. Okay? So if you've already started creating a new one, just cancel that select standard, and I'm following the booklet. Step 2, pick standard from the list, pick set current. Okay? Now we pick new. And over here it says start with standard. Now we could have switched it here. On ANSI, I could have switched it there. Just keeping us focused here. All right, so now new style name. Now we type in TOLCM, and then I select continue. Okay? And on your booklet, you've just finished step 4. So now, step 5. Now keep something in mind. If you remember from last class, we had our class standard, which had us do about 4 things. You should still be doing those 4 things in addition to this tolerance style. We're not going to do all 4 of those, but I am going to just have to correct a couple of things. For example, my text type. My text type at the start of the style standard is wrong. So I don't want to continue that. So I click on my text tab, and I'm making this .125. And I'm also going to go to my primary units, and I want to correct my dimensions to be 3 places. Okay? So those are kind of given things before we even start on creating our style. So I went to text, and I made it an 1/8 inch, and with the primary units, I made it 3 places. Okay? Now we're officially ready for creating our tolerance. So if you look at your booklet, it does acknowledge the fact that we're changing our text type and primary units. Oh, and 0 suppression, let's get rid of leading. We don't need zeros in front of the decimal. Okay, so that was steps 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're finally ready to get down to business with this plus-minus column. So if you'll notice, you've got a tab all the way at the end called columns. So let's click on that, and we're going to work our way from top to bottom. And the first thing we're going to do is the method. We're going to say, click on the list for none, and we're going to select deviation. Now notice there is no plus minus, and AutoCAD refers to that as deviation, and they actually break it up into 2, symmetrical or deviation. All right, if I select symmetrical, it assumes that your plus and minus is always going to be the same, and that's quite often not. We're going to select deviation, where we get to have a different plus and a minus. So deviation, that's step 10. And then 11, we get to choose what our upper value is. Let's say 0.005. And our lower value, as the booklet says, 0.003. Now notice, everything is going to have that, and I'll show you how to do that later. Then, step 14, vertical position. Now it says middle. Now what middle means is if you split these plus and minus numbers right down the center, it's equal to the center of your main number. I'm going to click middle and set it to bottom. What it does is it pushes your tolerance numbers up so that the bottom of your minus number is even with the bottom of your main number. And that is, according to the ANSI rules, that's the most common way of showing it. Okay? But notice, you've got 3 choices, but I'm going with what's compliant. Okay? Then scaling or height. That is 1. Now, what does that mean? The text height of each one of these upper and lower is going to be equal to the text height of my main number, and that shouldn't be. I'm going to make this 0.75. And what that does is it reduces the text height of your plus number and your minus number ever so slightly, 75% of my 1/8 inch. Okay? So whatever number you put here, it's based upon your text height. All right, so I went a little out of order there, but basically we just created all of our necessary settings for our tolerance, and we have one more to do. We have to put a 0 suppression for the tolerance number. If you look closely, it's 0.005. We're going to click leading on that. You can see it cuts down on the width of space it needs, and now it's able to fit it. Okay, so that's it. So there was a handful of steps, including the other ones where we had to correct our text height and the number of decimal places. All right, we're going to pick OK. It's making TOLTN the current style, so I'm going to select close. Now I'm going to zoom into this rectangle, and I'm going to add a linear dimension to dimension width, and a linear dimension to dimension the height. Now, as I pointed out earlier, everything we do is going to have the same plus and minus number. And that's not always the case. In a well-engineered drawing, you're going to have varying tolerances. So if that's the case, all is not lost here. What we're going to do, let's say that for the height it should be plus 0.010 and minus 0.005. So we can fix just that one by clicking on it. And then over here in our properties, we have to scroll down, find tolerancing. Remember, it was all the way at the bottom. All the way at the right of our dialog, so it'll be at the bottom of it. So we go to our tolerance, our limit upper. I'm going to stretch this out so you can see it easier. Okay, our tolerance limit upper, 0.05. That's the one we wanted to make 010. And our lower, we wanted 005. Okay, so we're able to individually override these settings. If I had 100 dimensions on my drawing, 50% of them was 005, 003, the other 50% was 010, 005, I would actually create another tolerance TM style, and I would build that in so I don't have to keep doing what I just did by clicking in, highlighting, and changing. That would become unproductive. I would have two different styles. And then I would just change the styles like I would change layers. For example, let's say for the height of this, I didn't even want tone. I could come right up here in my annotate dimension panel and temporarily change back to my ANSI style, go to linear, and now I have a dimension without a tolerance at all. Okay? And then go back and change to my tolerance style when I continue adding other tolerances. Okay? I don't need both of those, but just to give you the idea. So you could use your dimension styles to your advantage just like you would use layers. And you would frequently change layers. You could potentially frequently change dimension styles to save you time. All right, I'm going to come back over here and let's go to limits. And with limits, you're going to see because we already have tolerance TM as our current style, it is real easy to use that as a template to build for the limit style. All right, so in your booklet, we're talking about page 2. Okay, so for the limits tolerance, which will give us this, you'll see that we're going to go right back in, and there's fewer steps. Okay? Very few steps. So here we go. We'll go back to the dimension style, and we select modify. I'm sorry, we select new. Not modify, new. And the new style name is going to be TOLLIM, for tolerance limit. Now, here's where it's important. Yes, we want to start with tolerance TM. We don't want to start with standard or ANSI, because we have to start from scratch and build this thing from scratch. So TOLTM, and we go to continue. Okay? Now, we go to tolerance. We don't have to do the text height and the decimal places because we did that already on our TOLTM. All right, so in the tolerance tab, let's say assuming the upper and lower value was the same, all I have to do is go to method and change it to limits. And notice everything has those limits. And that's it. Done. Go to OK. I go to close. Now when I go to linear, okay, got the limits shown. Tolerance limits. Easy as that, assuming you've already had the TOLTM. Now, one other comment here. In a well-engineered drawing, you can have a varying methods of showing tolerances. So it's possible to have both limits and plus minus. So let's say for the height I want the plus minus. All I have to do is go and change it from TOLLIM, TOLTN, and give my height. Okay? So working your dimension styles can keep you productive. All right. So that concludes the first two dimension styles. We are now going to need to switch over to that architectural style drawing. And that's that one that I showed you today, of the Arch 24 by 18 that we've been periodically using over the semester. Okay? Where we have that big rectangle, we have our smaller rectangle from the first square we drew. You may or may not have lines drawn in there, depending on if you saved it after we learned layers. But I'm making no assumptions. So what I want you to do first is go back to the Home tab and go back to layer 0. I want to be dimensioning in layer center or hidden. All right, so architectural style dimension. This is really any object where it's a much bigger drawing and you have scales happening. And when you go to dimension, let's see what happens kind of before and after. I go to linear, I snap here to here, and I go to bring up my dimension and click. That looks very strange. Looking at that, I'm like, where's my arrow? Where's my number? They are there, but they're microscopically small because remember, if we use the quick measure command here, if I click that quick measure and I put my mouse inside, this is a 40 feet 6 wide rectangle, so this is much bigger. Now watch this. If I put my mouse near the middle of this dimension and zoom in, you'll see it'll take a while, but there is actually a number there, and it's decimal, and it's 4 places, so there's everything wrong about that. So I'm going to zoom back out, delete this whole thing, and then let's do this the right way. This is creating an architectural dimension style that is proportionately scaled to the dimension of this drawing. And to know that, we have to remember that when we created this drawing, we did this based upon a 1/4 inch to the foot on an 18 by 24 sheet. So 1/4 inch to the foot, that's important. All right. Now, I'm going to take us back to the PDF, and this is actually from the book. You didn't download this, but this is from a page in the book. I just wanted to show you this as an example. Here are mechanical style dimensions, and here are architectural style dimensions. There are some 30 settings that we're going to have to change to go from what's out of the box, with the exception of 4 decimal places and zeros, to an architectural dimension. It is about 30 plus settings. That is in that booklet. Okay? So in your booklet, I'm going to go, let's go to the next page in this architectural dimension slide. So we're going to start right here. I want you to have this out and ready to go. Okay? I'm going to slide this off to the side and lay on the monitor so I'm reading along with it. All right, so with this in mind, or in this drawing, what we have to do, and since I'm in the Home tab, I'm going to go back to the regular way. I'm going to go to Annotation and my Dimension Style button, my Dimension Style Manager, and New. Okay, so we've just got, this is step 2. Dimension Style button, New. Now, if you look at the booklet, the name I'm recommending is Arch-48. Now, why 48? Well, I'd love to be able to say a 1/4 inch to the foot, but you can't type in inch marks, you can't type in dash or quotes or anything other than letters, numbers, dash, and underscore. Now, 48 is coming from the 1/4 inch equals a foot, 1 inch equals 4 feet. 4 feet is 48 inches, right? There's 48 inches in 4 feet. So when we see 48, that's really indicating a 1/4 inch to the foot. That's just a system you need to get used to. All right. That said, the name, if I have an architectural dimension style for 1/8 inch to a foot, that should be Arch-96. Right? 1/8 inch to a foot, 1 inch equals 8 feet. There's 96 inches in 8 feet. Okay, so there's our name. I'm clicking Continue. That was step 4. Now, as we progress through this, and again, remember, don't jump ahead. It's going to seem like a very chaotic way. We're going to go to this tab, back to this tab, back to the first tab, and kind of go crisscross our our way through here. There is a method to the madness on this, and you just have to trust it. Okay? So step 5, we start on primary units. And then in the linear dimensions, we change our unit format to architecture. Okay, where it'll now show feet and inches. The precision is going to be really your call at the time of creating a drawing, but I always recommend going one more precise than you need. Okay? 16th for us is fine. So we're not going to change it. Okay, so that was step 5A. Step 5B, from the zero suppression category, uncheck 0 inches. So they're both selected, meaning suppressed. Okay? We want to uncheck 0 inches. Why do we want to do that? I have to remind us over here, in architectural dimensioning, when it's exactly something to a foot, it will still show the 0 inches. By leaving that 0 inches selected, zero suppression, it would just say 28 feet. That's not the standard for architectural dimension. That's what this unchecking that. Now, we do want 0 feet checked, so that if we're dimensioning anything less than a foot, we don't need it to say 0 feet 6 inches. It's just going to say 6 inches. Okay, so next. So that was step 5B. Step 6, we go to the text tag. And in here, just like everywhere else, we have to reduce our text height to 1/8 inch. Highlighting 3/16, saying 1/8 inch. That was 6A. We go to step 7, we go to the fit tag. And in here, this is what drives the whole thing. Scale. Okay? We go to 48. This is very important. You don't do this one step. Everything before this and after this is garbage. Okay? Nothing's going to work. What this does is it acts as a multiplier. For all of these categories with numbers in them, they're going to be multiplied by a factor of 48. Remember, in the drawing, when I created that dimension, you couldn't even see the number. If I multiplied the scale of height of that number by 48, it would be visible and it would be the correct text. That's what this value is doing for us. All right, so that was step 7A, 48. Now, these next couple of steps are going to get weird on you. Just follow the course, stay with me, and trust me. So, step 8 is to pick OK. Step 9, as strange as it might seem, step 9 is to pick we're back at the beginning, we pick new. Okay? Now, what we're about to do is create what's called a child style. Okay? And with new, we're not going to change anything in the name. What we're going to do is down at the bottom of this, in the use for all dimensions, we're going to change that to linear only. You have to trust me. When this is all done, I'll come back and maybe make better sense. Linear. Okay? And notice this grays out. It's going to be a sub-style of Arch 48. You're going to see linear with that. All done. Okay, so that was step 10. Use for linear. We pick continue. Brings us back into the style. Step 12. We go to the symbols and arrows tab. Now we're going to start making it look more architectural. So we go to first arrowhead. We select architectural tip. Now, when you change the first, the second automatically changes. You could change the second, but don't. That's no one not going to see that. But there's a lot of different arrowhead stuff. You can both on tip. Okay. Next, reset the arrow size, which is 3/16. That's big, to 1/8. And by arrow, because there is no arrowhead, it's actually the length of the tick. You want that at 1/8 of an inch. Now go to the lines tab. We have to make some fine adjustments here. From the dimension line category, here's the dimension line category, reset extend beyond ticks right here. From 0, we want that to be 1/8. Okay. Now, what does that mean? 1/8. Goes back to this. this is not showing it, but we're extending our dimension line for 1/8. All of these. Funny, this is not showing it, but that is a standard for architectural dimensions. Beyond. Let's come back and join in. So 1/8 inch. You can see now that it's showing that a little bit faster. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is reset baseline spacing to 0. Remember we saw this before, baseline. We're going to reset that to 0. I'll show you later on why. Next, step 13C. From the extension lines category, reset extend beyond dim lines to 1/8. Okay, so this is 3/16. That is the distance from the tip all the way up to the top. It's too big. It's going to be an 8. And now 3/16. Highlight that. Say 1/4/8. All right. That takes care of step 13. We're now going to go to step 14. So back to the text tab. And 14A, from the text placement category down here, change vertical to above. Above. Now the number, the above, we have to fix that for these. And that is 14B, from the text alignment category, select aligned with dimension. Over here, put the middle. Now, no matter what orientation your dimension line is, the number is always going to be sitting on top of that. Now it's looking a whole lot more architectural. Okay. Next step, we have to go to the fit tab. And in here, this section is all about when the number that you dimension is tiny and it can't fit your number inside there. How does it handle it? Well, that's both of these categories. We're all about that. What we're going to do is, in the text placement category here, we're going to select the over the dimension line without a leader. Lower left hand corner. Over the dimension line without a leader. Okay? Now we are done. So I'm going to click OK. And remember I told you about that child or sub-style linear? Okay, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to go to close. Let's see how we did. Select linear, snap to the end point of here and here. Bring my mouse up and click. It's looking pretty good to me. I've got feet in inches, it's above, I've got tick marks. Okay, I'm going to draw something very small. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say at 6, 12. Okay? So 6 inches wide, 12 inches tall. And I'm going to create a linear dimension of that. So see what happens here is my number stays between, but above. Actually, it's over the dimension line without a leader, or that very last thing. I would not want this number to be over here, or squeezed in here. It'll be in up here with the text. So a lot of the little things we just did save you from having to grip edit a lot or reorient and do a lot of tedious, unproductive tasks. Now, why did we create that child style? And the answer to that would be, I create a circle, and I dimension the diameter of this circle. Right then, I want there to remain an arrow. I want the tab to be right in the middle of this, and I want this to have a dimension. I didn't create a style for that, it's a sub-style. You would see a lot of strange things in the dimension of a diameter. For example, I'll try to freehand. It would look something like this. You have your tick marks, it would go across it, and your number would be on top of the line like this, 4 feet 9 and change. And that's what a diameter dimension would look like. So by making that child style called linear, we made sure that the tick marks, the number above the line, was only for linear dimensions. That anything that you click with linear is it's going to look like that. Anything you click with diameter or radius is going to go back to this one, which is much important. Right? Hope you understood that, but that's a very a big valuable part of your dimension style is isolating specific categories of dimension to behave differently than the name category. All right, so there's your dimension style for architecture. Now, I'm going to bring this back in, and I want to continue going down the list here. Civil dimension style. Now, with civil dimensioning, it is really the same thing we just did for architectural with one change. Right? Remember how your numbers look in civil are different than architectural. This would be 50 feet dash 6 inches. It was architectural. But in the civil world, it's 50.5 feet. Okay, so how do we get the number to change to look like that? Right? That is in this first step here. That's in this very first step. Okay, what you would do is in the primary units tab, change your precision to 2 places, and in the suffix option, you would type the foot symbol. And in the measurement scale, you would type in 1/12. It will convert it to that fraction. And in the zero suppression category, you would select trailing. So those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, right? Counting number 5 in the step, primary unit step, is very critical in getting the number values to look the way they should in civil engineering. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. There's going to be one more part to this lesson, which will be the assignment. Okay, so to keep these video files small, I'm going to chop this up into one more, and it'll be just the assignment. And remember, you needed to download that. I'm just going to run through some examples and discussion on that for the handout. Okay, so stopping here, then you're going to upload and execute the last recording file.